How's it going, everyone? Austin Honecker here. I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from last night, which was June 18th, 2021. I gotta say, it was awesome from start to finish. For the matches, match one, it was Jake Hager versus Wardlow in an MMA cage fight. That was a great fight, but the ending to it, Jake Hager went over because Jake Hager made Wardlow pass out to the head and arm triangle choke. Now, within that match, within that fight, it was scheduled three 5-minute rounds. And round one, it was pretty much all Wardlow. But round two, Jake Hager won. And pretty much won the fight in the second round. But after the fight, Jake Hager was getting ready to... Jake Hager was trying to show sportsmanship towards Wardlow, and Shawn Spears came in and attacked Jake Hager from behind to beat the shit out of him, and Chris Jericho came in and beat the shit out of Shawn Spears, pretty much saving Jake Hager, but Wardlow beat the shit out of Chris Jericho, and Shawn Spears joined in, and so Chris Jericho got the best of Shawn Spears and Wardlow, and MJF came out, and MJF attacked Chris Jericho from behind and beat the shit out of him, and MJF locked in the Salt of the Earth on Chris Jericho, and then MJF beat the shit out of Chris Jericho some more. Then Dean Malenko came in the ring and got MJF off of Chris Jericho, and MJF attacked Dean Malenko with a forearm shot to the face and laid him out, and Sammy Guevara came out, and Sammy Guevara came out, and MJF and Wardlow retreated, and Shawn Spears tried to attack Sammy Guevara, but Sammy Guevara beat the shit out of Shawn Spears, and as MJF and Wardlow retreated, all the referees had to hold Sammy Guevara back because Sammy Guevara was getting ready to attack MJF and Wardlow, but Sammy Guevara tended to Chris Jericho, and Jake Hager was laid out too, but Sammy Guevara ended up staring MJF and Wardlow down and everything, which that was cool. Match two, it was Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus Darby Allin in a 2-on-1 handicap match. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page went over because Ethan Page pinned Darby Allin with the Ego's Edge. Match three, it was Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Orange Cassidy went over with the Orange Punch. Match four, it was Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus The Factory, which are QT Marshall and Aaron Solo. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson went over because Brock Anderson pinned Aaron Solo with a roll-up. Match five, it was Penelope Ford versus Julia Hart. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Penelope Ford went over with the Muda Lock. But after the match, as Penelope Ford still had the Muda Lock locked in on Julia Hart and wouldn't let go, the Varsity Blondes, which are Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, tried their best to get Penelope Ford off of Julia Hart, but to no avail. But Penelope Ford finally got off of Julia Hart, and then Miro came out and cut a promo and was talking about how Penelope Ford has had a rough time because of her wedding being ruined, and her husband Kip Sabian being on the injured list and everything. And then Miro was talking shit towards Brian Pillman Jr. and Griff Garrison, and Miro attacked Griff Garrison and beat the shit out of him and got him and threw him out of the ring. And then Brian Pillman Jr. ended up jumping Miro and beating the shit out of him. And then Miro fought back, and it was pretty much a back and forth brawl between Brian Pillman Jr. and Miro. And all the referees had to come out and break it up and everything, which that was cool. And match 6, which was the main event, it was Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus Pena El Cerro Miedo, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian. That was a great match, but the ending to it, Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers went over because Carl Anderson pinned Pena El Cerro Miedo with a diving neck breaker. Now, besides the matches, Jake Hager, along with AEW showed Jake Hager along with Chris Jericho and Wardlow along with Shawn Spears walking backstage heading to the ring for the MMA cage fight and everything, which that was cool. Frankie Kazarian, Eddie Kingston, and Pena El Cerro Miedo cut a promo. Frankie Kazarian was talking about how he was the elite hunter and how he was going to take down the elite and everything. And Eddie Kingston was talking about how the elite were going to need all the prayers they can get, because once him, Frankie Kazarian, and Pena El Cerro Miedo got done with them, once they got done with them kicking their ass and everything, they were going to need it and everything. And Pena El Cerro Miedo cut a promo and said, "That's right, because I am Pena El Cerro Miedo and I have zero fear," and everything, which that was cool. Team Taz, which are Taz, Ricky Starks, Powerhouse Hobbs, and Hook, cut a promo, and Taz was going on about how Hangman Page and 10 got a cheap victory against Team Taz, which are Brian Cage and Powerhouse Hobbs last week, and everything. And Taz was telling Ricky Starks that he loved him, but last week, Taz was pretty much telling Ricky Starks that he loved him, but this whole tension between him and Brian Cage needs to stop. And Ricky Starks kept going on, and Powerhouse Hobbs was telling Ricky Starks to cut the bullshit that last week him, Brian Cage, and Hook left him hanging, and Hangman Page and 10 got a cheap victory against him. So Taz issued a challenge on behalf of Powerhouse Hobbs to face Hangman Page next Saturday on AEW Dynamite and everything, which that was cool. Alex Marvez interviewed Jungle Boy, and Alex Marvez was pretty much asking Jungle Boy about his match against Kenny Omega next Saturday on AEW Dynamite for the AEW title. And before Jungle Boy even got the chance to talk, Kenny Omega, Don Callis, and Michael Nakazawa appeared on a golf cart and everything. And Kenny Omega was talking about how Jungle Boy embarrassed him and everything, and talked about, and pretty much Kenny Omega gave Jungle Boy a free shot to hit him and everything. And so Jungle Boy took off his jacket, handed his phone to Alex Marvez while Don Callis was egging it on, but Jungle Boy took his jacket off, gave his phone to Alex Marvez, and was getting ready to pull his hair back. But Michael Nakazawa attacked Jungle Boy from behind with the laptop, and then Kenny Omega beat the shit out of Jungle Boy, and Jungle Boy got offense and started beating the shit out of Kenny Omega. Then Kenny Omega and Don Callis escaped to the golf cart, and Michael Nakazawa tried to pull Jungle Boy away, and Michael Nakazawa tried to escape as well, but Kenny Omega shoved Michael Nakazawa back, and Jungle Boy knocked Michael Nakazawa out with a punch to the face, and Jungle Boy tried to chase after Kenny Omega and Don Callis, but Kenny Omega and Don Callis retreated on their golf cart. That was cool. Alex Marvez interviewed the Hardy family office, which are Matt Hardy, Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, the Blade, and the Bunny. And Alex Marvez was asking Matt Hardy about his issues with Christian Cage and everything. And Matt Hardy was talking about how Christian Cage has been after his ass for 20 plus years, and how Christian Cage has been out of the business for 7 years with injuries and everything. And Matt Hardy was pretty much talking shit about Christian Cage and everything. And then Christian Cage appeared and was wanting to fight Matt Hardy, but Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, and the Blade all ganged up on Christian Cage and locked him up in a cage. And while Christian Cage was locked up, Matt Hardy was talking shit about Christian Cage, and Matt Hardy was talking shit towards Christian Cage, and Christian Cage was telling Matt Hardy to open the cage up, you son of a bitch, and Matt Hardy was telling Christian Cage it wasn't going to happen, and Matt Hardy was telling Christian Cage that he needed to go back into retirement and spend time with his kids and everything. And Matt Hardy had a check to Matt Hardy gave Christian Cage a check and everything, but Christian Cage threw it down and everything, and Matt Hardy left, and Christian Cage looked on pissed off and everything, which that was cool. Jake the Snake Roberts and Lance Archer cut a promo, and Jake the Snake Roberts was talking about how Lance Archer is the Murder Hawk monster, and how how he's been dominating everyone that gets in his way, and how he's going to get what he wants. And Jake the Snake Roberts was also talking about how he is not going to be able to stop Lance Archer, the destruction of Lance Archer and everything. And Lance Archer walked off screaming and pissed off, and Jake the Snake Roberts followed and everything, which that was cool. Jim Ross interviewed Andrade El Idolo, and Jim Ross was pretty much asking Andrade El Idolo why he signed with AEW and everything, and Andrade El Idolo was talking about how there's so many talented people in AEW and everything, and talked about how he's a superstar and how he's gonna be the face of AEW and everything. And Jim Ross was asking Andrade El Idolo if he had his sights on the AEW title or the AEW TNT title, and Andrade El Idolo was saying that he wanted to get the AEW TNT, he wanted to be the AEW TNT champion first, then be the AEW champion, like work his way up to be the AEW champion and everything. And Jim Ross asked Andrade El Idolo why he made the business decision to have Vicky Guerrero as his manager. And Andrade El Idolo was talking about how he's a third generation wrestler, and how Vicky Guerrero was the wife of the late great Eddie Guerrero, and how she went in the Guerrero family after marrying the late great Eddie Guerrero. And Andrade El Idolo was talking about how Vicky Guerrero was a smart businesswoman, and that's why he chose her. and everything, and Andrade El Idolo was pretty much telling Jim Ross that 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 him and Vicky Guerrero have surprises to come to for AEW and everything, which that was cool. Alex Marvez interviewed Hangman Page and the Dark Order, which are Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana. And Alex Marvez was asking Hangman Page if he was going to accept Taz's offer to face Powerhouse Hobbs next Saturday on AEW Dynamite. Hangman Page accepted, and then Alex Marvez asked Hangman Page about the AEW title match between Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy next Saturday on AEW Dynamite, and Hangman Page dodged the question and talked about how John Silver is almost fully healed. John Silver's shoulder is almost completely healed, and talked about how 10 got the victory against Team Taz last week, and talked about how five had an awesome jacket, and then he went to talk about Evil Uno, and Evil Uno was saying he knew he lost to Miro last week and failed to capture the AEW TNT title and everything, but Hangman Page was pretty much telling Evil Uno that he still put up a good fight and everything, and so John Silver so Stu Grayson and Alex Reynolds picked. So 10 and Stu Grayson and 10 and Alex Reynolds picked Evil Uno up, and Hangman Page and the rest of the Dark Order, which are Stu Grayson, John Silver, Alex Reynolds, 5'10", and Colt Cabana, were all chanting Uno and everything, which that was cool. Tony Schiavone interviewed Britt Baker and Rebel, and Tony Schiavone was pretty much asking Britt Baker about Nyla Rose wanting the shot at the AEW Women's title and everything, and Britt Baker was getting ready to talk, but Vicky Guerrero came along and said that she wanted Britt Baker to give her client Nyla Rose a shot at the AEW Women's title. Well, Britt Baker would not oblige to it and everything, and then Vicky Guerrero was talking about how she's the reason that Andrade El Idolo had been signed to AEW, and Britt Baker was being a smartass and saying, so, and your point is, and Vicky Guerrero was saying that since she helped get Andrade El Idolo signed to AEW, Tony Khan gave Vicky Guerrero followed through Vicky Guerrero's wish, and Britt Baker was wondering what it was, and Vicky Guerrero was saying that it was going to be Britt Baker and Rebel versus Nyla Rose and herself. And then Vicky Guerrero left, and Britt Baker and Rebel went to laughing, and so did Tony Schiavone and everything, which that was cool. AEW aired a video package of Proud and Powerful, which are Santana and Ortiz, and FTR, which are Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and both teams of Proud and Powerful and FTR were talking about their upbringings and doing comparisons to each other, and we're talking shit about each other and everything, which that was cool. And Jade Cargill and Mark Sterling cut a promo, and Mark Sterling was talking about how him and Jade Cargill purchased 4 luxury hotels in Canada and everything. That was what Mark Sterling was talking about. And Jade Cargill was saying that her and Mark Sterling purchased the hotels so her opponents could have somewhere to sleep after she knocks them out and everything. And Mark Sterling was going on about how Jade Cargill has been undefeated since she's been in AEW, and how she's been undefeated on Dynamite, on AEW Dynamite, on AEW Dark, and on AEW Dark Elevation, and was pretty much saying that when AEW Rampage comes along, she'll be undefeated on that as well. And Jade Cargill ended it with her quote saying, "I'm that bitch," which that was cool. Now, besides all that, besides all that, Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur done commentary throughout the whole show. They done awesome as usual. Taz done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the MMA cage fight between Jake Hager versus Wardlow. Taz done great on guest commentary, and Don Callis done guest commentary along with Jim Ross, Tony Schiavone, and Excalibur during the match between Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers versus Pena El Cerro Miedo, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian. Don Callis done great on guest commentary. And the referees for the event were Rick Knox, Paul Turner, Bryce Remsburg, and Aubrey Edwards. Okay. Aubrey Edwards refereed the MMA cage fight between Jake Hager versus Wardlow. Rick Knox refereed the 2-on-1 handicap match between Scorpio Sky and Ethan Page versus Darby Allin. Bryce Remsburg refereed the match between Orange Cassidy versus Cesar Bononi. Paul Turner refereed the match between Cody Rhodes and Brock Anderson versus The Factory. Aubrey Edwards refereed the match between Penelope Ford versus Julia Hart. And Rick Knox refereed the match between Matt Jackson and the Good Brothers, which are Doc Gallows and Carl Anderson, versus Pena El Cerro Miedo, Eddie Kingston, and Frankie Kazarian. All the referees done awesome as usual. Now, the match card for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite next Saturday, June 26th, 2021. The match card so far that's been announced, it's going to be Kenny Omega versus Jungle Boy for the AEW title, and Hangman Page versus Powerhouse Hobbs. And the match card that's been announced so far for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite on June 30th, 2021, it's going to be Miro versus Brian Pillman Jr. for the AEW TNT title, MJF versus Sammy Guevara, and Britt Baker and Rebel versus Nyla Rose and Vicky Guerrero. So those are the matches that have been announced for both episodes of AEW Dynamite for June 26th and June 30th. So the match card for those two shows, those two episodes look like they're going to be awesome and everything. But anyway, I just wanted to come on here for a while and give them a review for All Elite Wrestling's AEW Dynamite from last night, which was June 18th, 2021. Like I said, it was awesome from start to finish. And with that being said, my name is Austin Honecker, and I will catch your ass down the road. Peace out.